Good day, my name is Christelle from France de Klerk Independent Technical Analysts. Henny wanted us to kick off the show with Nampak. Henny, there's a beautiful descending channel on this formation, weekly graph of Nampak. And the optimism of this descending channel on Nampak will be confirmed when the share changes 101 Rand 47 into a support. And when will the share warn again, the graph warn again? When this support at around 99 cents changes into a resistance. What is the target of the descending channel? It's normally the width of the channel projected upwards from where the formation will be confirmed. And that means the number can possibly go to 2 Rand 16 should this full formation play out. And remember, it doesn't necessarily mean that the whole pattern plays out. Now, what is interesting enough is one, it's oversold, so that is an ideal place to enter into a position, especially along. But also that gives me a little bit of optimism here, a little bit of some, positive, is the fact that we've got a tweezer bottom here. 2 consecutive candles where support was found on almost the same level and the share, rallied to higher levels. And then what it did, it pulled back, and the support it found there around 1 Rand was a little bit higher than the support it found here around 85 cents. And that tells me that we are working with higher lows, and that is also seen as positive. If I zoom out, you'll see it's very far away from its 40-week moving average, which is waiting at 4 Rand 99. Also a critical level that one should watch should the share reach that level. Because we can see time in October 2019, and again here from Jan 2019 back to June 2018, it just could not find enough buyers to lift it through that 40-week moving average. If you're a little bit nervous and think that, the fundamentals are not there yet, wait for higher lows, wait for another pullback and optimism, and then maybe above 2 Rand and 4 cents, your next higher low or possible double bottom would be confirmed on Nampak. Derek wanted us to look at Tyson Foods. They're listed in the US on the New York Stock Exchange. And we can see, Derek, there's a beautiful cup and handle or a higher low that was confirmed on Tyson above $65.85. The big test now is, will there be enough buyers to continue the rally to the top? I would be concerned about this graph when the share starts to change $58.19 into a resistance. I'm not sure if you've got the share already or not. I think if you haven't, you're too late. Your stochastic indicator is already sitting on a 71.58, and that means it's almost in overbought territory. But I'm assuming you already have the share. And then a nice target to the top is this window there, Derek, that is waiting between $77 and 3 US cents and then $77.83. So there is a window there that can act as a possible target for Tyson Foods. And also have a look at that 40-week moving average. When the share reaches it, it's waiting at $75.47 to see whether there's enough buyers to lift that share through and change that level into a support. Craig wanted us to look at EOH. I mean, the stock is up 100% for the week. But technicals and graphs do not lie. Craig, there was a beautiful double bottom that was confirmed there when EOH changed this level of 3 Rand. I'm going to give you that exact level of 3 Rand 80 into a support. Now that might have been the second confirmation of optimism, because the double bottom was the second one. But the first, I think personally, the first sign of optimism was this diagonal line that I've drawn in there, strong diagonal line that changed into a support, and that waited there around 3 Rand 20. Because what that means or implies is that the downward trend since July 2019 has now turned around and changed into a support, because that line represents the strong resistance that kept the share below that level since July 2019 back all the way to the first week of June 2020. So now it's the question of, where do we get in? I think you're too late now. So because, the stochastic is sitting on a 52, but 100% up, it's a bit much. So what we should do maybe is wait for a pullback and then get into the share again. But that's also not a guarantee, because sometimes when shares, especially if they were beaten down the way that EOH have been, it takes just a small a glimmer of hope, and then they start to rally the share to higher levels. So if you want to chase the momentum, and it's never recommended, that means you should consider a buy above the high of this candle, and that is waiting at 7 Rand and 15 cents. So above 7 Rand 15, we can assume that the momentum to the top on EOH can continue again. Now, 100% you'll say, Crystal, I need closer levels of warning. That is an indication of warning. The first one would be below 5 Rand 87, and then a strong level is there 4 Rand 96. Below these levels, we'll maybe hold our breath and think that the share might pull back. And now the big test is, will it be able to hold the support waiting at 3 Rand 80? Because that's the critical level. And what will be beautiful, if EOH can pull back, test 3 Rand 80, keep it as support, and then bounce again, because that will imply that there is enough buyers at 3 Rand 80 to keep that level of support, so that the share can sustain more momentum to the top. Boabab wanted us to look at Kumba. I mean, I call this a share on steroids because it almost ignores technical analysis. It just rallies no matter how oversold or overbought it is, or no matter what the rand does. If it decides to go into one direction, it just continues in that direction. And we can see, a massive rally to the top on Kumba. From the lows here in March 2020, it's up 148% already. Now the big question is, will it be able to change these previous highs back in July 2019 of 529 Rand and 3 cents? Will it be able to change that level into a support? If Kumba can find enough buyers to take it back and higher above 529, we can assume that the momentum to the top can escalate even further. And you can use Fibonacci levels to possibly project possible targets to higher levels. But I've got an overbought stochastic indicator which tells me that elastic band is stretched to a side, and at some stage it has to give. Either it's going to snap, or it's going to give us some room again, some pullback, maybe especially when the traders start to take profit. Now, when will my first sign of weakness be? My first sign of weakness, if you consider a possible short in this scenario because your stochastic is so overbought, will be below 460 Rand and 4 cents, below last week's low of that candle, 460 Rand and 4 cents. Possible entry level for a short. Stop loss, I would use this 529 Rand and 3 cents, and then always nice targets that one can aim for Boaba is this window here that is waiting between 389 Rand 14 and 392 Rand. So beautiful window there that can act as a possible target for lower levels on Kumba. And again, the 40-week moving average will be that critical level for long-term investors to say, is the sentiment towards this share positive or negative? But we never like a long leg up, lamp pole formation, down, up, because should Kumba continue to decline and it comes back to these levels around 226 Rand, we might be sitting there with an ugly double top formation. But it's still too early to say. We'll have to wait and see what the share does and how the candles form before we can run ahead of ourselves. Anglo-American. Richard wanted us to look at Anglo-American. Richard, we can see for the last 4 weeks on the weekly graph, because these are weekly graphs, it seems like Anglo-American Anglo-American Platinum, could not change that high of 119 Rand, 1,195 Rand 83 into a support. And that is seen as negative, because that tells me there was not enough buyers to lift it through 1,195.83. And unfortunately, I can only assume that the momentum to the top will continue again above that level. And then obviously we can see the previous resistance on Amplats is waiting there at 1,417 Rand and 17 cents. So that is the big next test for Amplats. But take a look here. That red line represents my 40-week moving average. And the share is close to it and is testing that level. And that is waiting at 1,080 Rand and 92 cents. If the share cannot find enough buyers to keep it above that 40-week moving average and it starts to consolidate below it, it means the long-term sentiment towards this share will change to negative. And also take a look here, Richard. It's very close to the lower band of this rising channel. Now, a rising channel is a negative formation, because if this lower band starts to change into a resistance, it means that the share might be losing steam and we can see lower levels. Now, what is the target of this formation? It's normally the width of the channel projected downwards from where the channel will be confirmed. And that means I can possibly see Amplats back at 837 Rand and 30 cents. It doesn't mean it's going to definitely go to that level, but that's an estimate that one can aim for should the share continue to decline. But also take note, there's a window there, Richard, and that window is waiting between 1,022 Rand and 60 cents and 1,050 Rand on the spot. So there's a window there that might just close. So it will be interesting to see if Amplats pulls back, just close that window and bounce again, because then my next higher low will again be confirmed, and my whole opinion then will turn around and say, hey, maybe Amplats wants to continue to build on this rising channel to higher levels. But 40-week moving average and this window is critical levels that needs to change in either a support or a resistance, and then obviously that resistance there at around 1,193 Rand that needs to change into a support in order for us to believe that the momentum to the top can continue again.